Imagine this. You're a military dictator. Yes, you're Napoleon. France is in your hands, Paris is subdued, the army does what you say without questions, and generals fear your stare more than enemy artillery. You crushed the royalists in the south of France quickly and decisively, seized northern Italy with brute force, conquered Egypt in a single year, and after that all of Europe was talking about you. You're only 25, but you already have a reputation as the man who wins where others wouldn't even think of starting. When counter-revolution broke out in Paris, you didn't give speeches or reason with the crowd. You rolled cannons into the streets and dispersed it with grapeshot. One volley, and the city understood who made the decisions now. After that, no one argued with you. People agreed in advance, and you didn't even blink. You personally led troops under heavy Austrian fire. You knew you could be killed, and that was exactly why you went first. You didn't hide behind soldiers' backs, didn't look for excuses, didn't fear appearing ruthless. You acted fast and coldly. You took northern Italy not by numbers, but by audacity and precise calculation. Egypt was an adventure no one but you would have dared. Europe began to hear your name as a threat, and France as salvation. You were used to blood, noise, fear, and responsibility. You calmly made decisions after which people died by the thousands. You didn't lose your balance when cannonballs burst around you, when columns were cut down by fire, when officers fell beside you. War didn't throw you off course. On the battlefield, you felt as confident as at home. There, everything was honest. Either you were stronger or you were dead. But now you're sitting alone in a room, sobbing, not because of defeat, and not from exhaustion. You're sobbing like some kind of simp. And do you know why? Because of a woman. One specific woman whose name you can't get out of your head, no matter how hard you try. You conquered cities, countries, and armies, but here, in the personal realm, you found yourself powerless. You don't understand how this is even possible. You endured what broke others. You weren't afraid of death. You weren't afraid of losing. You weren't afraid of hatred. But now you can't pull yourself together. You know what's happening in Paris while you're at war. You're briefed. They write in hints, sometimes directly. You read those lines and kept commanding the army as if nothing had happened. And now, it all crashes down on you at once. You sit there asking yourself a question that never came up before. How did it happen that a man who fired grapeshot into a crowd and marched under cannon fire was broken by a woman? Who is she, that she managed to do what armies, plots, and wars could not? Her name is Josephine, and you don't meet her at the moment of triumph or as a reward for victories. You meet her in Paris amid salons, conversations, intrigues, and half-tones, where everyone knows everything but pretends nothing is happening. She's not like the women you'd be advised to choose. Not young, not pure, not convenient, not the kind you build a legend with. Her name is Josephine. She already has children. She has debts trailing after her like a long tail. She has a past spoken of in whispers, but spoken of by everyone. She's not fresh or rare. She's lived in, experienced, worn smooth by this city. Half of Paris stands behind her, and that's not a metaphor. Men flirted with her, slept with her, swore love to her. Men you saw at receptions and in theater boxes. Many of them smiled to your face, knowing they'd been there before. And you knew it too. And that's exactly what didn't stop you. On the contrary, there was something familiar in it. You never took the easy path. Italy was hard. Egypt was risky. The counter-revolution was dirty. Every time you went where others turned away. Josephine looked less like a woman and more like a task. Like a campaign with doubtful odds, but a special payoff. You look at her and think not like a romantic, but like a man of power. Yes, everyone's been here, but I'll be the last, and therefore the main one. You're used to putting a full stop where others leave a comma, and you're sure it will be the same with her. She looks at you differently. To her, you're not a hero or a myth. You're strange, too serious. You write long letters and don't know how to speak in hints. You're a Corsican without a great name, a general without a lineage, an upstart who rose too fast. Parisian lions seem more interesting to her, lighter, more familiar. To her, you're not a flirtation, you're an effort. But you have what they don't: money, power, protection, status, and also attention you can't hide from. You don't play games. You don't hesitate. You commit fully and demand the same without even realizing it. You start pulling her into your orbit the way you pull countries and armies. You marry her quickly, almost as a business move, as if signing an alliance treaty meant to close the matter for good. You're sure everything will fall into place now, that you have a woman, that balance is restored, that the weakness is sealed off. You think you've won. But you're wrong. You leave to fight, because you always leave to fight. And that's the only state in which you're truly focused. The front makes more sense to you than home. The battlefield is more honest than the salon, and artillery is more reliable than conversation. And it's there, between marches and orders, that you start writing her letters. Not one or two. Many. Too many for a man used to commanding, not pleading. You write as if each letter might be the last. You demand love, fidelity, longing, as if those two could be secured by order. You describe your feelings, your thoughts, Your loneliness in detail. You write lines that in Paris will be read aloud and retold with smirks. You tell her not to wash, because you want to return to her scent, and there's no play in those words. Only a dependence you yourself haven't yet recognized. Paris reads those letters and laughs. In salons, they retell them like anecdotes. To the local nobility, you look ridiculous and out of place. A military dictator losing his head over a woman. Josephine smiles as she reads your lines too. To her, it's not tragedy or drama. It's confirmation that you're attached more than you should be. While you live in a tent, in mud and dust, among maps, reports, and the cries of the wounded, she lives beautifully. Balls follow one another, conversations flow easily. Someone is always nearby. New admirers appear as quickly as old ones disappear, and each of them is sure he's the closest today. Parisian society treats her as part of the decor, an integral element of high life. You sit over maps and reread her rare replies. Short, lazy, unstrained. She answers when it suits her, and never when you need it. And that gap becomes ever clearer. You give everything and receive crumbs of attention. Your subordinates begin writing to you not only about troop positions. Reports come cautiously, with pauses, with awkward phrasing. They write that she's been seen again not alone, that a duke was with her, then a banker, then someone else. They don't say it outright, but you understand everything without words. All of Paris knows, and only you keep pretending it isn't so. You read those lines and lose control. You don't know how to share. You don't know how to be second. You're used to winning fast and decisively, and here you're suffering defeat after defeat with no way to strike back. You win battles, smash armies, shift fronts, but you lose to her, and that drives you mad more than any siege ever could. You return, not as a husband, and not as a man who wants to talk things through. You return like a volcano that's been held back for too long and has finally erupted. Paris feels it in advance. Salons fall silent. Letters are written more carefully. Glances grow sharper. All of France understands. There will be a scandal now. There will be a divorce. And this isn't a private story between two people. It's a state spectacle that everyone will be watching. You unleash everything at once. No pauses, no attempt to preserve appearances. You shout, accuse, name the men whose names you've carried in your head for years. You know too much, because you've been briefed for a long time. You list lovers as coldly as you would enemy corps on a map. You leave her no room to maneuver. This isn't a conversation. It's an interrogation. At some point, you begin cheating yourself. Not out of desire or curiosity, but out of anger and stubbornness. Women appear around you easily, almost automatically, but none of them matter. In your head, it's still only her. You realize that even when you're trying to take revenge, you remain attached. And that enrages you even more than her affairs. You make the decision quickly and definitively. If you're going to lose, you'll do it loudly. If you're going to cut, you'll cut to the bone. You don't want a quiet separation or compromises. You want to show everyone what happens to those who slip out of your control. The divorce becomes official, public, demonstrative. The papers are signed in front of witnesses. Every detail is calibrated like a military operation. You take everything: money, jewelry, dresses, ornaments, even what she considered hers and untouchable. You leave her without status, without protection, without her former sense of certainty. France watches, holding its breath. The emperor is taking revenge not on an army and not on conspirators, but on a woman. And he does it with the same cold precision with which he once crushed his enemies. Formally, it's a victory. Legally, everything is perfect. You got what you wanted, put a full stop, destroyed the dependency on paper. But inside, nothing has changed. When the noise dies down and the doors close, you're left alone with the same sense of emptiness. You thought you'd burn this feeling away along with the divorce, that after such a blow it would be over. But no, you became emperor. Not by accident, not by luck, and not because fortune smiled on you. You reached the summit yourself, step by step, through war, stubbornness, and cold calculation. The crown on your head is the result of dozens of decisions after which someone won and someone disappeared. Europe lies at your feet. The map of the continent no longer looks stable. It bends to your will. Kings tread carefully. Allies don't trust you. Enemies are afraid. Everything works the way you're used to. You have a new wife, young, convenient, correct. One who suits not you, but the state. With her, everything is built according to plan. Dynasty, heir, order. She doesn't argue, doesn't pull the blanket toward herself, doesn't turn your life into chaos. It's a union, not a passion. And you understand that this is exactly how it should be at the top of power. But every time the noise of court life fades, every time you don't have to play the role of emperor, she surfaces in your mind. Not as a memory of love, and not as a romantic image, but as the feeling of an unresolved question. Like a situation where you didn't put a full stop, You just walked away. You can control armies, ministers, diplomats, but this image appears without permission, and you can't do anything about it. You defeated Europe. You won campaigns that were considered impossible. You broke coalitions and forced the world to reckon with you. But Josephine remained your only defeat, the one you never acknowledged. You could strip her of status. You could take away money, name, protection. You could erase her from the official history of your life, but you couldn't erase her from yourself. You realized that it was in this relationship that you became what you never wanted to be. Not controlling, not strong, not rational. You were dependent, jealous, vulnerable. And that turned out to be the hardest thing of all. You handled military defeats. You handled political mistakes. But here you had no instrument. And that's the whole paradox of your life. On the battlefield, you're an alpha. In love, you turned out to be a simp who couldn't impose his rules. You're Napoleon. You could move forward again, raise another army, try once more to rewrite the world. But there's one thing you never managed to rewrite. If she had chosen you back then, everything might have turned out differently. And yet you cry alone in your room while preparing to conquer the entire world.